What's up, cyberspace cadets? That's right, it's Irate Prostate here, and it's Irate Monday. I'm fucking irate, and I'm with some friends tonight. In the studio with me tonight, I've got Tim of the Hun.
Hey, 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 hey.
And Trippy the Poop.
Hello.
And yeah, I wanted, man, I'm mad as hell because the shit that we're going to cover tonight is just like, I've got the fires of hell burning in the background in case you can't see that. Because there's some horrible shit that's been going down. And I think there's a way to dovetail all this stuff together if we look at it. So there was a report released after three continuances, right? It was supposed to be released at the first week in June, and the lawyers representing the Catholic Church kept filing continuances until the judge said, "Look, this is going to be, this is going to be report. This is going to come out on the 14th of August, and it's going to be by 2 p.m. in the afternoon." And when that came out, we learned that for the past 2 years, a Pennsylvania grand jury has been receiving evidence. Basically, they released a 1,400-page report that shows more than 300 predator priests have been credibly accused of sexually abusing more than 1,000 child victims. It's not fully grown victims, it's child victims. We believe that the real number of children whose records were lost or who were afraid to come forward is in the thousands. Priests were raping little boys and girls, and men of God were being responsible, who were responsible for them. Not only did nothing, they hid it. For decades, monsignors, auxiliary bishops, archbishops, cardinals have mostly been protected. Many, including the ones named in this report, have been promoted. The grand jury, and that's what happened with, it's interesting because you're not seeing this all over the news. Remember when the abuse came out in Boston? And I mean, that stuff was on, I mean, it was headline after headline after headline, and it was all over ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, all the cable and mainstream news, right? For days, because it was just, so devastating. And I'm not going to accept, fatigue, battle fatigue or whatever the fuck they want to call it, as the reason for this, this hiding this. The deal is that when that Boston report came out, the Pope in seated was a very conservative Pope who helped bring down the Soviet Union, John Paul II, right? And the Pope that's in power now is Francis. He's South American. He's pro-socialism, and there's this whole push to open arms for illegal aliens, and 90% of them are Roman Catholic, right? And that's the reason I think that nobody is really hearing about this on the level that it needs to be broadcast, because it's just some horrible shit. And I'm reading primarily from two articles. One's a CNN article, and then I want to talk about this little girl who, after she reported being abused, the church came after her and investigated her and sent investigators to follow her. It was just disgusting, almost like Scientology type shit that they were doing. We'll jump in, people. It's open season.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the information again, and I'm just kind of... Okay, so you want to talk about the report that names 71 clergy?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about the report that names 300?
Well, the 71, I believe, let's see, were that was okay. The one that came out. Yeah, the 300 priests. That's the one that came out yesterday. I believe the one that cites 71. No, all right. The CNN says 302. Okay. 71 clergy were in one diocese.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Okay, I think that was the biggest diocese, which was the Pittsburgh.
Jesus.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. 71, yeah, that they kept shuffling around. You know, it was my deal is, and I'm wondering because somebody poses this question that somewhere is this a possible RICO case? Because we're looking at systematic organized crime over a period of almost 50 years, 70 years. My bad. I forgot about the.
Okay, so it's 70 years. It's 300 priests in 70 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of priests.
Yeah, and then there's the ones that didn't get reported. Think about that. So we're looking at the tip of the iceberg. You only see just a small part of the iceberg. Everything else that's under the water, is usually about 2/3 to 3/4 the size of the tip. And that's probably the way this thing is too. We're looking at the head of the pyramid, the top of it. One of the priests who later served prison time for abusing children was found to have been HIV positive for years. I mean, you just go down these bullet points. In the Greensburg diocese, priest impregnated a 17-year-old, forged a pastor's signature on a marriage certificate, and divorced the girl months later. According to the grand jury, the priest was allowed to stay in ministry by finding a quote benevolent bishop. In other words, he sucked up to the right guy and he got passed through. Usually in the situation, from what I've understand, they had gatekeepers. When John Paul II died, the gatekeeper at the time, during when it was happening under his tenure, I guess you'd say, the gatekeeper was Ratzenberg, who was promoted to it was Pope Benedict for 2 or 3 years, and then stepped down. That was his reward. For being the gatekeeper and all that shit. You see, and that tells you right there that the abuse is so much worse than what's being reported. Even what pisses me off, y'all, is that I was born and raised a Catholic. I was baptized in the Catholic Church. I was christened in the Catholic Church. I was confirmed in the Catholic Church. I took my first communion when I was in 3rd grade. I can't remember how old that was, and when I, learned of this stuff, the stuff in Boston came out in 2002. There was a really good movie that came out about how they discovered it. It was really, I can't remember the movie, but it was really well done.
Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about. I can't remember. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And the more you read, here's the deal, is like I was trying to say earlier, is that CNN spent 7 minutes, from what I can see on it, like the 20th, after I think there was some pressure to at least touch on it. And they interviewed one victim. It was a 7-minute report with Allison Camerata. I think it came on at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time.
Did they irate? Did they put some pressure on the priest to touch on it? Hey,
man, what's going on?
Hey, guys. I know nobody was looking at their Discord, so I just snuck in the back door and sat down. Yeah, Catholic, priests touching kids. Not a new phenomenon, but why is it being so hushed up? Why no word on that?
Did you hear what I was saying earlier? I've got a theory. That,
what is your theory?
All right, when 2000, when it came out, Watoya, one of the key members that helped bring down the Soviet Union and end the Soviet Empire was a conservative pope, and now we've got a guy that's pro-socialism, Francis, and he's from South America, and he's pro-immigration.
You just touched on the real answer, and I have a different theory, but I think you just kind of touched on the real answer in my eyes. But yeah, it's a little more. I think it's a little more simple than what you proposed earlier.
Okay, brother, yell it. Come on, that's what we're here for.
Mexicans.
What?
Right.
Mexicans?
Yeah.
Mexicans.
Yep. Central American. And
You go after the Catholic Church. You just went after every Mexican in the country.
that's right.
You just made Mexicans into Jews. They're not gonna risk that. They want to suck Mexican dick right now to get that fucking vote in 2018, 2020.
Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly what I was saying.
You think this is all politically motivated?
Well,
Absolutely. What does CNN do that isn't?
Right, exactly. Because man, when this when the Watoya, when it came out in 2002, man, it was all over the place. You couldn't turn on the TV and not hear about it, man. I didn't hear shit when it came. It came out 2 weeks ago, and we're just now hearing about it. And it's just because I stumbled on the shit. It was like last Thursday is when I stumbled on it.
Why is a training camp in New Mexico full of kids being trained to become suicide school shooters not a big story?
Yeah, why isn't that all over the fucking place? Yeah,
because it was Shamir Akbun that was doing it, and possibly at the direction of some people running ops, some rogue members of our own government, possibly if they're going to take that. Look, man, I'm not going to field legit conspiracy theories, but it's all worth. The Gulf of Tonkin is fake. We know that. That's not even a secret anymore.
Yep.
We got our boys floating in the water. No, we don't. We still got questions about 9/11, whether people admit it or not, whether you've been shamed into being called by getting called a truther or not. That shit still bugs me to this fucking day. How those buildings went down.
There's a lot of odd things when it comes.
Call me whatever you want. Call me a truther. Call me whatever you want. Fucking liberals. That shit looks weird to me. Fuck. I never planned.
But it's actually a scarier truth than people really want to think about.
Yeah, the Pentagon was even weirder.
Hit with a missile is what the Pentagon was. Hit with a fucking Tomahawk missile.
Exactly.
Period.
It's structural comparison.
Well, it's pretty fucking obvious.
That's what it looks like.
Okay, wait.
On the one part of the building that nobody was in. Huh. How very convenient.
That day.
Yeah, they just happened to hit the area that was being renovated, so that nobody was sitting there very often anyways. Convenient. The reason the towers fell the way they did is because the wrong grade steel was used. It was cheaper. It was probably a lower grade, like a grade 6 instead of a grade 8 steel.
Can anyone else name me any time in history that a building has imploded like that due to heat? Where it just, I mean, you got to get structural engineers out there to implode a fucking building. Otherwise, it falls everywhere. Just by chance, just by random chance, the right fucking factors were in place to implode. Not one, not two, but even a third fucking building that imploded perfectly across the street.
Yeah, number
I don't
7.
buy it. I just don't buy it.
Yeah, building 7 is
Building
weird.
7
but
is
I
the one
understand how
that
the towers fell, though.
Yeah, but when the because we've talked about how back, when it was being designed and when it was being, when the foundation was being built and shit, it was, pretty much run by the mob, and they were controlling, of construction. It was the 60s. When they started,
I buy that.
I
buy that.
And so they cut corners and shit, and they left they left an inferior, material slide in, man. Shitty wiring. I mean, think about all that asbestos smoke shit. They couldn't figure out what the fuck it was.
Think about the billions of dollars in insurance that were taken out just a month before that fucking building imploded too.
Yeah, well, see, and then there's
that. I didn't know about that.
There's a lot of weird coincidences around a lot of stuff.
A lot of weird coincidences.
Even plans, years old plans to have a terrorist attack on American soil just to blame another country for doing
People
so.
want to call you a conspiracy theorist, but you know what, man? How many fucking future presidents have to be surrounding in Dallas the day Kennedy gets shot before you start to fucking figure out something was going on there?
Right?
How many future presidents were there? on, like, like, come on, like, that's a little excessive for any given time and place. When you see shit line up like that, and people want you to believe it's just a coincidence. No,
It's just like people raise questions when, wasn't there a bunch of world leaders that took a trip, like, what was it, to the North or South Pole at a random time of the year, and people were, I don't know if it was the poles or, no, it was supposed to be, that's what it was. It was supposed to be like people were saying like a spaceship was found in India or something like that, and a bunch of fucking world leaders went and visited the area. And
or maybe you knew some shit was happening. Maybe you knew some shit was happening, and you were just like, well, let's think about this. How could we play, like smart people, could we play this to our advantage and let it happen? Or is it better to stop it? I think that people do consider that in the higher echelons of shit. Could we maybe go there and paint the fucking place with phosphorus or whatever so it goes up real fucking easy? Maybe put some charges in there so once it smolders for a minute, boom, we can nail it. Hey, why not? We can make a lot of fucking money if we do that. Dude, I don't know.
War is profitable.
Yeah, it could be what they say it is. It could be not what they say it is. But usually if you follow the money, you will find the truth. And that comes right down to why shit's getting covered up in the Catholic Church. To go back to the topic. Money. Votes.
Yeah, because Optimus was like, what did I miss?
I just didn't realize they still had that level of political pull in America.
Well, yeah.
I thought, because, well, yeah, I was going to say the optic of the church is that it's fallen out of favor, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, hell, even over at the Vatican, they run all their own rules. They investigate their own shit when they want to. A pope dies. Like, there was a pope that died, I think, in his sleep or during the night.
Talking about John Paul the First.
Yeah, they didn't even bother checking out the body. They were just like, nope, bury him or cremate him or whatever.
And he had black fingernails, and I can't remember. That's the sign of some type of poisoning.
Yeah.
I think he also had blood from coming from his nose and eyes.
Yeah.
I think arsenic, but I could be very wrong.
It could be cyanide.
It was very Napoleon-esque. Like, this was done for a very long time in small doses type of deal.
Like, investigators tried to come outside of the Vatican, into the Vatican to, further the investigation, and they were like, no, you're not allowed to do that. If you look into this shit while you're here, you're going to jail. It's kind of like too many fucking red flags.
It's pretty fucking disgusting, man. It's like especially because, my mom and my sister are still real devout, and, there's an old saying, if there's a problem at the bottom, you got to look at the top. And that's what I see is just this bloated, it's just like our government, man. It's this bloated machine, overly populated bureaucrats, mid-level bureaucrats that just thrive on fucking paperwork and shit, and they're just letting this shit, run rampant, man. Who knows? There's, and it all ties into the second story. Everybody's talking about Molly Tibbetts and shit. This beautiful co-ed that typed, last year she said, "I hate white people" in a tweet, and then about a month ago, she was murdered by the illegal alien. Sharp force trauma is what they were reported, but in other words, she was stabbed to death. Okay.
Yeah.
In Alabama, in Huntsville, Alabama, there was a 13-year-old little autistic girl who was beheaded because she witnessed her mother's murder at the hands. And it took me 7 sources to find and make sure that the 2 guys that did it were illegals, right? And I think the mom and the girl were illegal too. Maybe the girl might have been one of the, like a anchor baby or some shit. But I mean, it took me that long to get it right, and Snopes helped me verify one, which I find, I don't know, and then the other source. So anyway, so the 2 guys, what it is that they wanted, the mom dated one of these guys that was part of the El Chapo cartel. Okay, so this is straight out of Mexico. This is a Mexican op, man, they wanted her to drive them to Atlanta to grab some meth and some other drugs, and she didn't want to do it. She got in a fight and stuff. And the dude just, I mean, he just shanked her, and the little girl saw her do it, man, and I don't know, why they cut her head off. I mean, she was, she's autistic. And the way that
people are fucking animals, dude. You're a normal person. You're not supposed to understand why an animal acts the way it does. Why they do it? Because they're in a fucking rage. They already murdered the mom. Let's cut the fucking dude.
She's a witness.
How many? 30% were there of violent crimes in America being done by illegals. We're already there. People that don't have any right to be in this country to begin with, that shouldn't be in this country to begin with. And I'll say it where other people won't. Is there such thing as an illegal human? Yeah. Once you cross that fucking border, you're illegal. We could toss them all out right now and have 30% less violent crime in our country. A third. Staggering numbers. We've never seen a drop off in violence like that immediately in the history of America. Almost utopian-like. And what keeps us from doing it? Because we're worried about hurting the feelings of the people that illegally came in here.
It's politicians that are afraid to lose their fucking jobs, man. That's what it's about. And
a lot of the illegals, man, they have no fear, no qualms against committing crimes because all that's going to happen is deportation. So they can come back, a month later, a week later, or whatever.
That's what they say. And they'll say it. They'll say it to your face when you meet them in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And you got people that have been fucking in office for 50 years, 45, 50 years. They don't want their jobs to go nowhere, man. They want that, they want to keep, and they're fucking ridiculously rich, and
that's the other part. As long as their day consists of going from the nice part of Washington, D.C. to the nice part of Washington, D.C., they never have to deal with the bullshit that we do. They never have to worry about an illegal killing and raping your daughter, but we do. But if we worry about illegals specifically, even though let's say I'm in South Texas where that kind of shit would happen, then you're a racist. You're a racist, and I'm like, I'm not the race. Like, there's racism and there's what I would call common sense racism. Okay, for instance, you're a little skinny white boy in the hood, and you see a group of black guys all dressed in the same fucking color, looking at you, smiling at each other, and fucking start approaching you. Okay, don't think that it's bad racism that you think you're about to get robbed. You're about to get robbed. It's common sense racism. Common sense. It blows my mind how people will turn a blind eye to the obvious to keep their faith in this social. It's a church. It's a church. It takes more faith to believe that men are the problem and not specifically illegals are the problem. You know what I mean? Really, rape is the problem. Well, rape's going to happen no matter what. So dialing that down, we know we can alleviate 30% of them if we toss out the motherfuckers that shouldn't be here. But you won't do that. Man-spreading. You want to see how petty it gets? Man-spreading. Man-spreading isn't a thing for white boys. What it really is black-spreading. I'm just going to say what it is. Black guys are the ones that sit like that. Black guys are the ones that slunch down and open their legs 5 feet apart. But they can't say, black men have a problem with this, because it's white women complaining about it. So it has to just be man-spreading. And so they would rather fucking just accuse all of us of being assholes than point out the real fucking problem.
Well, and the point of that is they have to create these fucking wedge issues so they don't have to justify why they're not doing their fucking jobs. They're trying to do this fucking moral fagging shit and saying, I'm doing I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing a good thing, you people. I don't got time for this fucking job shit. I'm saving people. I'm saving lives, man, by who knows what, just jacking off, whatever they're doing. It's ridiculous.
The trick is to turn a logistical issue into a moral issue. You have a logistical issue. These people are committing crimes in numbers that nobody else is. And so you look at that issue and say, okay, what can we do? Are they Americans? No. There's your answer. Get them the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
If they were Americans, like if we're talking about Compton and black on black crime, there's some other options we would have to explore because we can't just kick Americans out of the fucking country. The ones that aren't Americans are the ones doing the fucking crimes? Kick them the fuck out. Easy. Simple.
Well,
no guilt.
Oh, we've been joined.
The kicker is, oh, sorry.
I was going to say we've been joined by Veteran Mountain Man. How you doing today, man?
Sorry I was a bit late, guys. I had a lot of stuff to try to get done today for my cross-country migration.
Yeah, he's getting the hell out of the left coast and coming back to the south where he belongs.
I'm trying to get back.
Well, Emma, you know, I'm leaving Saturday if you're ready to go.
You ever want to be able to earn $1 or start a business and not have it all taken back from you and given to a bunch of assholes who didn't earn it? I suggest you get your ass off the left coast. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
yep.
yeah.
I agree.
In fact, I was just looking at the Cato reports this week because it just got published, and Oregon's down to almost 45, which means it's almost in the bottom 5.
Funny how the people in the poorest and most dysfunctional fucking places think they can point their finger at others and tell them how to live. Again, by making it into a moral issue.
Exactly. They use emotions.
Exactly. Yep. Well, you know, and that's how they prey on women voters, all right? And because, you know, females tend to be more emotional. And I'll say men are emotional as fuck too now. I'm not, you know, ruling that out. But using the emotional leverage, man, that's straight out of the, you know, the Nazi propaganda handbook. You know, it's emotional wedge issues that don't mean shit politically.
Morals,
right?
The bottom line is morals are subjective. So when you start fucking using a moral argument, especially in politics, you are bound to fail.
Yeah, it's gay marriage.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, and you're probably doing it as a form of fucking deception.
Exactly.
Yeah, just be principled. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just be principled. If you use principles, principles hold up. Especially when you're talking about doing things in society. You don't need
well, the problem is these people are getting their principles from academia.
Yeah.
And they're getting it, and they're getting their principles from little echo chamber, left-wing blogs, this and that. Oh my God!
Well, they're also getting it from the postmodernist movement.
Oh.
True.
Yeah, but that's where academia comes into play.
Right.
Well, academia supports postmodernism in a large
That's what we're saying.
But
that's where it gets introduced to most of these people. That's why it's bled through the way it has.
But that's one of the reasons we need to start cleaning up academia.
Yeah. We just got to figure out how to do that and still support free speech. That's the tricky thing.
I don't know. Poland started it off pretty well by getting rid of...
gender studies because it has no purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
The programming is already well in place, guys. Why do you think you get all? Why do you think you're getting all these in such frequency? White kids going out and shooting up schools. The programming's in place. What happens when you take an adolescent with access to guns and a fucked up life, and then tell them they're the only ones that won't be listened to?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Everyone but you has value, is what they're telling these little white kids, man. And I wouldn't tell that to a little black kid. This isn't a white power statement. It's a fucking just reality statement. I wouldn't make a little black kid feel that way. So don't make a little white kid feel that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get a fucking school shooter. You created this new frequency of school shooters, liberals. You created that.
Oh yeah, feeling so victimized that you have to go to your house and find your daddy's gun and take it to school.
In the frequency that is happening now, yeah. It's always happened. I just did I've had to look at every news story from 1984 in the last week for a special, and the McDonald's massacre, for instance.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I had forgotten about that.
You have, and I can explain why with this 1984 special that I'm doing. But yeah, you probably have forgotten about that because the movies in 1984 were awesome. So was the fucking music. So was the TV.
Yes.
Every time you look back, you remember that shit. You don't remember the Union Carbide disaster. You don't remember the McDonald's massacre. You don't remember the subway vigilante in New York. Because the media showed you good shit.
Oh my God. I was only like 7 years old and I remember all those things now that you've mentioned them.
That's right, and you haven't remembered them since you were 7 years old. And 1984 looks like a utopian, perfect, great time to be alive. It was shit.
Yeah, I remember you guys were voting on which year had the best movies, and is that what got you to kind of think about it a little more? And
that's what started me on 84. I'm going to go year by year.
Yeah.
That's the point of the New Year in Review show. I'm going to go year by year, And I'm going
That's
to
a good
find out
idea.
what society. I'm going to average different things in the year. For instance, movies, music, news, video games, television, and we're going to take the average of all those, and we're going to assign a number to that fucking year. And then
Don't
we're going to go year by
97,
fucking year, week by week, and we're going to figure out what year, chart it out, and figure out what year shit started really going downhill, where it fell off. Go into that fucking year. Find out what month it fell off.
1992.
You think so?
I don't know.
I
would say
would think you would
94.
have to go back probably to the really to the 60s. Okay, because
No.
there was a lot of fucked up shit.
No, that's the thing. You could go back to the dawn of man and track this shit, but like we're trying to make it just. It's a nostalgia trip, but it's a dark nostalgia trip in some places.
Well,
do you mean,
but if
well,
you think about it, though,
or-
that's when the the Cold War was at its height.
I rate it starts at Ghostbusters. Goddammit.
Okay,
I don't make the rules. It starts at fucking Ghostbusters. I get scored instead of with that fucking Spectre.
so not even it doesn't even start with Empire Strikes Back. You're not gonna go to 78.
No, we're going post Star Wars, dude. Post Star Wars.
Nah, man. You got to go all the way back to the first school bombing back in 1904.
No,
Dude.
nope. I'm not extending the timeline to where it's not going to be entertaining to watch.
Somebody take a stick.
I need
feel
an
you,
hour
man.
of media. I need an hour of media to pull from. This is all going to be pre-produced. It's going to be ready for television. Actually, 44 minutes. So it's I put a lot of time and work into it as if I was like paid to do it by a client. So it should. It's going to come out good.
See, I would love to take you, man, and go through the Bezmenov stuff, man, and take his points one by one and see exactly how that was pulled off in this country, and you can see it, man. You know, it begins with the dissolution of the family, you know, and
Yep.
and then comes in the toppling nationalism and pride in who
You threw me off in the beginning, but yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
Vonnegut.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vonnegut.
Yeah, exactly.
It started even before then, Irate, realistically. You got to go back to the passing of the 16th Amendment.
What?
Refresh my memory.
The 19th Amendment is the one that sticks in my craw, but you know what? You got to give it.
I know.
The 16th Amendment, which
What?
is what allowed the progressive income tax system, which is a primary functioning methodology of
Tim,
communism.
I'm taking your vote away, but I'm giving you a life where the largest responsibility you'll be held to is be good at sex and be good at cooking. Isn't that a good trade?
No.
Would you don't want to live a life of luxury and just fucking and eating delicious shit?
No.
Then you're weird, and you should.
I know, I am. No, even turd flinging monkeys said I'm in the 4% of women.
I don't
The
give a
kind that
fuck.
are
Would-
actually competitive
what?
and smart and shit. So I'm more like a
Then
guy. Tom's right, I'm half
You
a
are
guy.
part of the 4% that will require subjugation. I'm sorry, but what it is. I was trying to change your mind so you could just transition into a better way of life. But if you
It's
want to
just
be
'cause I
oppressed
get-
and subjugated, I will be happy to do it.
I get bored
See-
really easily. So
See, now, Fate, you're actually talking about
Have
what
better
I'm
sex.
talking
I don't
about.
know.
Do
You
you
got
actually,
two jobs.
do you actually know how the progressive income tax got pushed?
Tell us, man.
So, it
Yeah,
was a
do that.
combination of the movement and the Ku Klux Klan. They pushed it so that prohibition could be passed. Because at the time, prior to the passing of the 16th Amendment, the United States funded its federal government off excise taxes on alcohol.
I see you out there, Uzuku. Thank you very much, sweetheart. You're a very lucky man, Irate.
I know it.
And so when you're funding yourself on the sale of alcohol, you're not going to prohibit the alcohol. Well, the women's temperance movement was basically the first push of the feminist modern agenda.
it is like one of the dumbest things ever done.
Susan,
Ever.
yeah,
it
I
was.
will not disagree that it is a really bad choice done by women.
We've got
It
to go
was.
back.
But see, the only thing I have as a problem is that if you just go and take away women's rights, you're not really learning anything from the situation. You're not growing or changing anything. Nothing
Yeah,
is
I am.
improved.
You've got a fundamental misunderstanding of what I'm trying to do in 2020. It's not that I'm taking away women's rights. You don't have rights to begin with, okay? By the standard in which I consider a human, you're not. as you're a woman. Now you can talk and communicate. You're intelligent. I get this. But you're not a human. Therefore, you're not subject to human rights. You're a possession. And therefore...
And you have totally lost your mind there, Matt.
No. I'm just explaining how it works.
The concept of Lockean freedom states that each individual owns themselves in their entirety, as well as all of their productive
Well, I'm sorry that Locke isn't here to fight his own fucking battle 100 years after his death, but he's not, and I am, and I'm afraid
Try closer to 200 years after his death.
200 years, and you're taking advice from a 200-year-old guy?
Yeah, because he's the reason we even have a country.
This guy doesn't know what I do, does he?
No.
Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. Go on. Go on with the serious stuff. You should know if someone was saying that honestly to Atima in a non-ironic way. Like, I'm pretty sure she would have been upset by it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
cool. We don't have to go back into Locke and niche and whatever else.
Sorry,
no, it's fine.
No, you're very fucking smart, but I'm not that smart. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'll be honest with you. You're just gonna force me to go to fucking just blue humor.
All right, check this out.
Sorry, man. Right. I've spent the entire day moving equipment and weaponry, getting ready for a move. So I'm a little at the end of my
that sounds like
my
a
endurance.
Cool move, though.
Well, yeah, man. All of my weaponry's coming with me. I'm not leaving it on the left coast where it can be destroyed. You think I'm nuts?
Texas,
He's coming home, Bubba. He's coming home.
I'm going back to Tennessee, man.
Oh, Tennessee will let you. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I got a friend out there that'll come shoot guns with you. I'll hook you up with.
Well, I'm going to be opening the still back up and go back to making Pa Heath special.
See?
Oh, see? So we got a moonshine hookup now. Cool. That's why you know so much about how to run shine and prohibition and all that shit.
All right, I'm going to read. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to read a little Yuri Bezmenov. Okay, he said since they couldn't instill a revolution in the United States, the plan was 4 basic stages. First one being demoralization. Takes 15 to 20 years to demoralize the nation. This is because the minimum number of years required to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy exposed to the ideology of their enemy. In other words, Marxism, Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students, right? Without being challenged or counterbalanced. Yeah, that's why Bezmenov defected, was because he became a Christian. Let's see. The second one is, it says, demoralization is complete and irreversible. And then, let's see. Physical shock will be when they see in the face what a beautiful society, equality, and social justice means in practice. And obviously they will revolt. All right? And there's no place to dissent in the future from a Marxist-Leninist America. So the demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already for the last 25 years. A person who's demoralized is unable to access true information. The facts tell nothing to him, and I shower them with information, with authentic proof, with documents and pictures, and he will refuse to believe it. It's the tragedy of the situation of demoralization. And there we have our fucking social justice movement right there.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think the line is where there is no backing this up, it's fight or flight? Like, what is that line? That's what I've always been curious
that
about.
line was about 3 years ago.
So there is no more fucking like this. There's no way to retrend the social justice thing to make it just laughable and humiliating, and people are just like nothing like that can work. It has to be.
No, we're gonna have to beat the living snot out of it. Now that doesn't mean we have to necessarily resort to all-out warfare, but we have to fight hard.
I wasn't specific enough. Maybe that's my fault. I'm asking, at what point are we there? Now I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're relatively close to there. But
you mean
at what point does that happen?
I think there's already a fucking civil war going on right now. It's taking place on the internet.
To put it generally, when is the time for talk done? I like what point? Where is that line where it's like, no, we can't reverse this. They're trying to take the government.
So if
because we were talking about Marxist Leninist America, and that made me think, where's the point of no return where that's happened, or it takes military force to stop it from happening?
All right, how
Where's
about
that
this?
line?
He says the next stage is destabilization. It takes 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. The time of matters as essentials: economy, foreign relations, and defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some sensitive areas, such as defense, the economy will influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed on this part of the world that the process would go this fast. And this is like in the 80s. He was saying this shit.
Here's the deal. I don't think we've gotten that far yet. But I do think we're pretty dang close. I do know that under Obama, we were having a lot of destabilization of our international policies. I was getting a lot of information from outside the country about that.
If before 2020, a move happens to eliminate the Electoral College, for instance,
it would require a
the
constitutional
time for
amendment.
okay, and maybe they'll push for it, and maybe they'll get it because that could be done with the popular senatorial vote.
You can't get
Not saying it wouldn't get vetoed at the top, but
well, no, you can't get an amendment with a popular senatorial vote.
what does it take to get the Constitution?
It would still have to be ratified by the states.
Okay, excuse me, guys. I gotta go. I'm sorry, I'm on a time crunch.
Not a problem, Atema.
Bye, Atema.
Yeah.
I didn't. You don't have to.
Bye.
Be
I know what
subjugated. I'm kidding.
I'm so angry at you right now.
Tim, where are you headed?
That's it. Subjugated.
To whose channel?
I am headed over to Moonifest Destiny to do a charity stream for Anti-Hero Broadcast. It's a booby stream.
Nice.
There's going to be me,
Booby stream.
Cadet,
Cadet City's gonna be there.
The Cadet's
Yup.
going to be there, Lo-Fi's going to be there, and so is Reading Ren. So the four
And
of
where's
us
this
are
at?
gonna do
I want to
boobies.
see. What, Lo-Fi?
Moonifest?
No.
Yeah.
Yes! Yes!
Ask you because it was per the request of you being AP. If you would like to join us.
I actually asked you about this.
I would
I sent you.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that
Big
I
old
was
titties.
looking at wrapping up at the top of the hour anyway to go ahead and facilitate this and send everybody that's taking place, part in this thing, go over there.
Yeah, I need to set up, though, so I can turn on my camera and everything.
All right.
So,
All right. Scoot, sis.
so I got to go, guys.
We'll be short behind you.
Send
See
it
you
to go.
later,
Link.
Atema. Have fun.
Oh yeah.
Well, the link will be there. Okay, we'll see ya.
You'll probably get it from Cadet.
Word.
Yeah. Because I mentioned that you were on stream with us, and she was like, "Let's see if you can, sneak that in there." So I snuck that in there.
He bounced.
Oh, there you go. AP's
hey.
cool guy.
Yeah.
It seems he's a little more sarcastic than I'm used to dealing with. I guess he's
He was
far more.
He's
into-
just AP, dude. You got to be used to him to get where he's coming from when he says stuff like that.
Well, I think he's got some points there. He's and I don't think he's cynical. I mean, if you get deep enough into this shit and you care enough, it's easy to get cynical pretty fucking fast.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree with you there, Irate. The problem I have with the idea that we're already into destabilization is that we've been teetering on that edge for a while. Look at Clinton's attempts. Look at
Well, see, and that's
Obama's
what I was
attempts.
going to bring up
Look at
is
even Bush's attempts.
why do you think that they were so pissed off when fucking Trump got elected? I mean, God, they're still raising hell about that shit, right?
Well, and that's because in about 2 years he's reversed 12 years of bad executive orders.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He pushed them back all the way, back to 12 years ago, which is fucking excellent. That buys
and
us
right now
more
he's in
time.
the middle of a negotiation with Mexico
Yep.
to actually put in a real trade agreement with them.
You got a little fuzz coming in on your mic, bro.
Sorry about that.
It's
I'm
just-
using my headset mic.
There you go. It sounds a lot better. Great.
But yeah, so right now he's in the middle of negotiation with Mexico, and we're going to hopefully see a real trade agreement because he's already pushed back on NAFTA and said it's no good.
Yeah, and that's what I saw that they were talking about that today, is that they were going to renegotiate it. But people are complaining that he's really not saying, he's not pushing the rhetoric that he used to get elected. enough in a lot of people's minds about the wall. When I was looking up the stuff about the little 13-year-old girl that got, beheaded by the, by the cartel, there were so many comments about this shit. And all of them were saying they were fucking pissed off at Trump because he hasn't done what he said he was going to do.
Well, here's the problem. He can't put the wall up by himself. It's part of the way our government is too.
I agree, man. I think that they want to hear him, keep pushing it and keep it in the, and it's like he can't do that now. He's president. He's got other shit. He's got to, there's something different every day to deal with. So.
Oh, yeah. And he's still pushing the wall rhetoric. I mean, there are prototypes set, and we're trying to force it back into the budget. And if they can force it back into the budget, then we're great. But we've got to win November to be able to do that.
Right.
Because we don't have a large enough lead in the Senate right now. And there's possibly up to 5 seats available in the Senate at this election.
Well, the last time they did a poll on it, they were saying that all those seats would be taken and possibly 2 more by Republicans or independents or libertarians, which I don't give a fuck. Just as long as there's no D in there, man. As long
as we can get something other than a D, we can probably get the wall funding. I don't disagree. And
I understand that a lot of socialists are running as independents. That's kind of a trick thing. But, still, that's just one voice. And they're not going to vote monolith with the fucking Dems.
Well, to be fair, Bernie Sanders has been an independent in the Senate for 6 years now, and he hasn't not voted with the Dems on like 3 issues, and that was it.
Well, sorry I haven't been really chiming in, Irate, but you guys know this stuff way better than I do.
Well, I mean, I really was wanting to hope, it's like AP kind of came in and kind of, dominated shit like he does and stuff. But you've been throwing in great feedback on this stuff. I think it's, it's like I'm not an expert on this stuff. A veteran knows this stuff because he has focused a lot of his life on, history and reading like the old documents, Federalist Papers. I've never read completely the whole Constitution.
Well, we can always change that. I mean, I did a 7-part series on the Constitution, man.
See,
Nice.
I did not even know that, and I've known you for quite a while.
Yeah, it's in my channel, man. So I did that back.
I don't even have to read. So you mean I don't even have to read? I can like put it on and let you read it to me. That's awesome.
Well, I sit down and I go over the different sections and I discuss what their intention was, and then I go into the amendments and I discuss some of the intentions and some of the interpretation of it. I cover it all. I also did the Declaration of Independence. I did some discussion and dissection of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. I did some dissection of Sal Lewinsky's Rules for Radicals.
Damn, I'd like to be honest with you, I'd love to hear the Rules for Radicals too.
I've done some discourse on Locke. I want to sit down and actually do a discussion on Federalist Paper 37, which has some really interesting stuff in it. It discusses the framework of freedom and the concept of how a man can only be free if he's able to own his own self.
And that totally is like the exact opposite of what Leninism, Marxism is. You become part of a whole.
Yep.
And seeing this, that's why I love Ayn Rand and shit. Is for that, for that very reason. It focuses on the individual, and I think if you're focused on yourself, it's in your best interest to to promote your tribe, right? Whether that be a state or a country or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I think all that fits. Libertarianism would fit in perfect, I guess, with at least the the Federalist early concept, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The 1776. One of the things I kind of push really heavy, man. The libertarians and the anti-authoritarian right. A lot of them get along with it really well. Because it's all about focusing all the way down to the individual and the individual right to choose and decide for themselves. The idea of going to the Senate or the House is like a public service. It's like you doing good for the rest of your community.
Exactly,
not you going for a job.
Well, see, and that was the whole idea behind it. It was like you know you're not doing this for money. It's like I think the idea was to house and feed you. And then you do your duty. It's like fucking serving in the military, right?
Yep.
You do your you do your duty, and then you split and let somebody else fill that seat.
And I don't disagree with you on that. And one of the ways we've got to fix that is by removing pensions.
Yes.
Because elected officials can get pensions, and the only way to fix that concept of it being a job and not a duty is to get rid of pension. That's all right.
It was just my phone.
Yeah.
It kind of fits with your avatar there.
It really
does.
It
is Mark Hamill. So.
Oh, he's that. Yeah, that Joker. Good.
Yeah. Sorry, I stepped all over you. I'll put myself on mute so you can continue.
No. I think that I think this has been one of the more interesting discussions that we've it's been all over the place, man. It's very ADHD, which is defines me perfectly. But I think I want to look at all this stuff again because you're coming from. Tell me if I'm wrong, veteran, but your whole position is based out of the old revolutionary concepts and the ideas that fomented the revolution against the Brits, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. The Federalist Papers, that was a group of treatises that were written by different people, wasn't it, or was there one author?
It was Hamilton, Madison, and
John Jay.
John Jay.
Jay, yeah. Okay, I knew he was part of it because I think he wrote the first one.
And there are also the Anti-Federalist Papers, and what's really funny is they're kind of traversed there. Technically, the Federalist Papers are anti-federalists, and the Anti-Federalist Papers are actually federalist. So it gets a lot of people confused. The Anti-Federalist Papers supported a centralized government with non-dispersion, akin to a central republic or a parliamentary democracy. And the Federalist Papers supported a multi-tier, which is what we have today. Mm-hmm. And so they're technically inversed there, but the whole concept is to push a persuasion of the public to either support or deny the ratification of the Constitution and its amendments. That's what the Federalist Papers were about, and to kind of explain and give more context to the founding document.
That's awesome. All right. So, I guess it's about time that we need to go ahead and wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
I thought because they were doing this anti-hero, he and I don't know him very well, but I think we've streamed at least twice together, and every time he opens his mouth, I don't hate what he says, so I'm going to support him, and send everybody over to Manifest Destiny channel, and so we'll go ahead and wrap this up for the night.
Okay.
Is there anybody got anything that they are just chomping at the bit to say?
At this point, not so much, except I don't know how much I'm going to get done this week since I'm going to be trying to get on the road by Saturday. So.
Got you.
Well, I subbed to your channel, man.
You did?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I subbed. I'd like to, sit back and listen to things. You know what I mean?
Well, man,
Maybe I can learn something. I can tell that I can learn things from you.
All right. Well,
a
there's
lot of
plenty there,
things
man. I've got over
that you know.
500
You know what I mean?
videos, man.
Hey, you're real. You got the shit on lockdown. You know what you're talking about. I can already tell. So
I try to be
checking that out.
informed. Thank you.
That's why I love working with Veteran, man, because he's just he's straightforward. He's to the point. He doesn't dick around, and he knows his shit. And especially when it comes to weapons, man. He's not even he's not even in his realm of expertise. This motherfucker can put you down, dude. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? W.R. Carlson, thanks for popping by, but we are fixing to head out. This is Irate Prostate. Trippy Poop, you want to say a goodbye?
Oh, yeah. Everybody have a good night out there. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening and hanging with us while we were talking about some pretty heavy issues and some not so heavy issues.
I'm sorry, I missed all the comedy.
No, it's cool, man. And Veteran.
And of course, I'm Veteran Mountain Man, and I hope y'all all have yourselves a great night. And I'll hope to see you probably 2 weeks from now when I'm great.
All right, and this is Irate Prostate saying, okay, we're going to be OUT for this week, and then next Monday. We'll pick it up all over again and be an hour-and-a-half show, just like usual. But I do want everybody to head on over to Manifest Destiny, and if you can, throw some money Anti-Hero's way, because he's in a shitty spot, and we've all been there. And this community tends to help its own, man. So please consider that. But definitely pop over there and give them some likes and shit. Give me a couple likes and shit, too. The sub wouldn't hurt. That's fucking free, y'all.
Yeah. It always
really
is.
All right, so we'll see y'all later. Have a good week. And I will be next with Big Fat Brian finishing up the hot takes on the I Am a Killer series. Take care, y'all.